How are you, Tim? What's going on? What's the best news of the day so far?
Oh man, just as entrepreneurs, our job is to solve problems, and I'm getting a lot better at solving problems quickly and efficiently. So today's been a time to be able to solve a lot of problems, man. So that's what we get paid for. It's good.
I love it. And maybe we can start off with Yahoo Finance named you one of the top 25 entrepreneurs of 2021. Is that right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How does something like that happen?
I mean, a lot of that stuff is really about just knowing the right people, but also like having a good product. So like what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of times when you get it, you have to people have to know who you are, right? To be recognized for something like that. So it's like just a lot of the more network you build, the more opportunities like that open. But obviously, doing a good job in building something that actually delivers value is a pretty good prerequisite for getting those invitations, as it were. You're not gonna, even though you like Forbes 30 under 30, 40 under 40, all these things, like you do have to be invited to this. So you do have to know the right people, but the right people are not going to invite you unless you know your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless you're coming through, right? And you've had a lot of practice from what I could tell. How many companies have you founded?
I like see that I've done well. Like three. Like they did okay. But I'm like way more than that didn't do anything. I think my first company was like did you guys ever like ride the BMX bikes and have the little pads on there and stuff?
Oh yeah.
So I would build like those pads, but I was like a super shy kid. So I would like, I was like 8 years old building the pads. I'm like, oh dude, I'm gonna sell the kids in the neighborhood. But I was so shy at the time that I made a bunch of them, and then I just didn't have the guts to go out and sell them to people. So I ended up just having like tons of BMX bike pads and never sold them. So.
Well, we appreciate you sharing about some success, but also some failures. That's a success principle, right? It's going to take some failures to get to where we want to go. And if anything, it just gives us more information, right, Coach? I mean, that's a principle that we work with on a daily basis, is just taking some sort of action, because we'll get more information and figure out how to hone our skills and maybe even find a new little niche or marketplace along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for that, Tim. What would you expand on that a little bit? Like, what did you take from what have you taken, and like, what are some of the principles that you see that are most important that allowed you to continue to go to get to the point right now?
Winston Churchill said that success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm, right? And I think we sometimes idolize the huge big wins, the breakthroughs. Like when I first started PEMA, we went from 0 clients to like 240 clients in 18 months. And like that's the external win, the sexy win that everybody wants to hear about. Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But the reality is people and businesses and all this stuff are super messy. There's no like perfect way to do it. So it's like, cool, I got the client getting side figured out, but I didn't realize how to build like culture. I didn't realize how to like build those. So it was like the product quality was great. Then we get all crap ton of customers way faster than I know how to handle the team dynamics, the back end, the infrastructure, the delivery went downhill by 2019, like we're, what is it? Thomas Edison would say that, hey, I didn't fail 10,000 times to do the light. I just found 10,000 ways not to do it. So 2019, like that, growing super fast, I learned a lot of ways like not to build a company and a culture. So really, I mean, I think 2020 for us was all about like, hey, how do we build just like a sick culture so that when we want to launch that growth again, we actually have a foundation to build on. And it's kind of interesting. Like I'm reading the Jeff Bezos letters where all the shareholders and they kind of take 14 principles out of that. And I don't know, do you guys remember pets.com?
Yeah.
There's like pets.com and Cosmos. It was like this big, huge, like everybody said it was this big failure of Jeff Bezos. And he said that actually he made billions off of that, not because he made money off of those, but because his willing to assess risk versus outcome him betting on those and losing on those wasn't a loss in his mind, because he knew that there was risk in every investment he made. But if you look at all of the portfolio of what Jeff did, he lost in a lot of areas, but the areas that he did win, he won really big. So I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, like, we want to think, oh, it's just like a shoot from the hip. But if we can combine like calculated risk, like, hey, the reward is here and the risk is here. The more of those types of risks we can take, the better. And most people only want to make a move when it's a sure thing. And if we only make a move when it's a sure thing, we're going to be followers. So I mean, I would say the biggest thing that I've learned is to try to take more of that calculated risk. We're like, is the outcome of this far exceeding what like the potential downward turn is? So my risk tolerance is technically has historically been very, very high, but it just hasn't been very, very calculated. So I think the biggest thing is that I'm learning to, one, take calculated risks. And then you guys all know, like, when you get punched in the face, everybody's going to get punched in the face. I'm sure you guys have run into a million struggles yourself. And it's not a matter of when, but it's a matter of like, or if it will, it's a matter of when it will. And it's a matter of getting up as fast as you can and not repeating that same mistake you made. So, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that I'm continuing to learn, you know?
Thanks for that. It's cool. I like it. I often say that's the extension of that principle, right? It's people say it's how quickly you can get up. Sorry, excuse me. It's getting up when you get hit, because you definitely are. But that distinction you made is what I see as well. It's not if you'll get up, it's how damn quick. So that makes a difference.
Yes,
like
yeah.
How quick you get up. If you're down for like a day, a week, a month, like, oh, woe's me, then like you're just gonna lose all momentum, lose that consistency. But if you just spring back up, like, wham, let's keep on going, we're gonna make more progress. So I love that principle. Thanks.
Yeah, we did a whole podcast episode on resilience at one point. So just
Yeah.
the ability to get out ahead of the failure, but like we're talking about today, in failure, there's other successes that come out of that. That's basically where success rises from. So Tim, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about PEMA, if you want to mix it in there. Does that stand for something, and what kind of company is it, if you want to share?
Yeah. So, I mean, long story short, with PEMA is I had this company, like, basically like 2017, I had gotten really good at LinkedIn. And so I created a course, and it was my first time doing like the online guru thing. And so, you know, I created a webinar and made like, it was good money for me. I was, you know, it's like making really good money, and I wasn't working, and I felt like I had cracked the code. I'm like, okay, I'm doing like 6K a week. I'm working 6 hours a day. I have no overhead. Like, dude, I've cracked this code. Oh yeah. And I'm looking at Ferraris. I'm looking at Lamborghinis. Like, oh man, this is it, man. And I'm living that dream that they're freaking selling you on the Facebook ads. Like, dude, just like chill on the beach and watch the money come in. And I lived that for 4 months, but then I realized the effort that I put in to get there, I stopped doing when I got there. And it was that effort that got me there. And I got there. I'm like, oh, cool, I made it. And that was a harsh reality, because I lost all of that income within 2 weeks. And it left me scrambling, like, oh shit, what do I got to do? And I went through like a time of like 6 months of going from like, you know, looking at Lamborghinis and all this stuff to being like, oh shit, how do I pay rent? And that's how PEMA was actually started, was out of like, okay, dude, I know how to get clients. I know how to do sales, and I need to pay my rent. And I'm like, and I stepped back and I started, because with the info product thing, I was mostly very just self-absorbed, just trying to like make money and not give value. And that caught up to me. And so with PEMA, I'm like, dude, I know how to give value. Let me step back from, like, I thought I had arrived at this place where I'm going to be that guru guy. And then I got slapped in the face on that. And I'm like, dude, let me be humble. Let me like go and serve people. And so I launched PEMA, and it was pretty dope. Within the first week, I got 5 clients, and we were doing such a good job that we got referrals, and it started growing. And that was kind of that story that I told you, the going from 0 clients to like 240 something in 18 months. So, I mean, I think there's always a lot of lessons to learn along the way. But the biggest thing is, people are trying to like come up with some cool, new, unique idea that's going to like be game changing. But at the end of the day, it's to truly create value. I love what Zig Ziglar says. He says, if you can help enough people you can have anything you want in life as long as you can help enough other people get what they want in life. And that was really the foundation of PEMA, is like, how do I help other people? Like the mission of PEMA is to end entrepreneurial poverty by flooding great businesses with dream clients. And that's really, it's really, really, really hard to do. But that's the story, man. Like I didn't have money for rent, but I had a skill that I was really good at. So
I love it.
I think that's the second Zig Ziglar quote in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. That's awesome. That's a great quote.
dude,
I got so many questions. Go ahead, Tim.
No, Zig Ziglar just,
He's the man.
He's the man. I love the guy, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got so many questions about that, but I want to ask about the culture too, because that seems to be the missing piece up until PEMA. So what are some things that you implemented, or how did you attack that, knowing what learning from the failures of the past?
Yeah. Do you guys know who Peter Drucker is?
Sure.
Yeah, Peter Drucker. So, I've read, I do like about a book a week, and and there's a saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
And for me, I had just, when the company grew really fast, culture exists and forms whether you develop it or not, right? And so I had let culture develop, and my assumption was like, hey, I'm just going to get some young, hungry, recent grads, and they're going to be like so thankful for this opportunity that they're going to learn from this smart entrepreneur, and I'm going to sow into them. But I didn't create culture. I didn't create values. I didn't create any of that. And so culture formed, and it was very, very toxic, very toxic. Like I literally had employees telling my clients to cancel service because they're leaving to start their own company. Of course, all their freaking companies failed, but like that was my fault. So I would say number one lesson I learned is extreme ownership. If any bad thing happens in your company, it's your fault. Well, no, my employee did a bad job. Well, who hired that employee? Who trained that employee? So one, I've learned to take extreme ownership, but it was really at this turning point. I had a really successful friend of mine. He's, he's got like 3 businesses that are all doing low 7 figures. And he's really good at building culture. And he said, dude, you need to read Peter Drucker, The Effective Executive. And Peter Drucker said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I also, in that time, I started reading like Tony Hsieh's book from Zappos, Delivering Happiness, started reading Tribal Leadership. And literally over 2020, we created our 6 core values that we make every decision by. Excellence is our standard, integrity is our measure, candor is our language, people are our passion, our enthusiasm is contagious, our pursuit of growth is relentless, and winning is our resolve. And now we're making every decision, every hiring decision based off of that. We're repeating these values day in, day out. And like, dude, when I used to hate coming into work on Monday from a toxic culture, now like when I meet with my team, dude, I love it because we're all on mission. And so we see all these different things and like, oh yeah, scale your business, do all these things. But at the end of the day, like your culture is gonna be everything. Like culture for us is everything. And so just a couple practical things that we did. One is we use the EOS system, the entrepreneurial operating system, is a practical means. We built out our mission, we built out our values. We do a weekly tribe huddle, which is like a level 10 meeting where we review everybody can see everybody's scorecard. How did you produce last week? How well did you do? Every role has a number to it. And there's 100% accountability. We go over all of our missions, all of our values. Everybody knows that they can call me out if I'm not living according to to our values. And so there's so much that I still have to learn, but culture for us has been just a game changer. Like if we would have had this with our, when we got our 240 clients, we'd be at over 1,000 clients right now. So I would say the 2 most important things for a company is culture and client acquisition, because without either of those, you don't have a business.
Yeah, Tim, I love it. I love the passion inside that, right? Because knowing all that pulling together is what is sustainable, right? It's not just about one thing. It's about creating the baseline that everything else can grow on. That's how I think about the culture part of it. And a lot of the principles that we work with at Pro Advisor Coach come from all of those things you mentioned. EOS traction is one of the things we use as well. Is to build out some of our processes. But absolutely, like, and extreme ownership, throwing a bit of Jocko in there, also because like you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to say, look, I'm on it. And we also believe that you as the owner, absolutely, and having that culture creates that ownership feeling, whether they're actual owners and the people that are working with us or not, but they're acting like an owner, making those decisions based on those values, and just creating a way that puts everyone in moving towards a place which is of exponential value. And by doing that, it's all self-sustaining. So thanks for firing me up and sharing that stuff. That's awesome.
Dude, it is too. So like we have one client, they're paying us like 300 appointments a month, and they're doing over 100K a month in new business just from our leads. And so that's super cool. But a lot of that has to do with like the people that we hired that are like the front line doing the work. So this one girl working for us, her name's JP, and she's like so brilliant, man. Like she's always on the front line. Like, how do you deliver? And she's always coming up with new ideas. Like, hey, Tim, I noticed that these leads are they're closing at 30%, but these kind of leads are only closing at 15%. So what if we switch the focus? So she's like looking at things that we're not even thinking about. And when I ask her, man, I'm like, why, where did you even come up with this reason? Why are you doing this? And she literally quotes her mission. She goes, Tim, our mission is to end entrepreneurial poverty by flooding great businesses with dream clients. And, it's not just about us delivering them leads, it's about us helping them get the customers. So, I'm trying to find everywhere in our system that we can do that. And like, for me, I'm like a proud dad, like, dude, I can't believe like my employee, like just quoted that to me, and, I think that's when you get like the number one thing that I would say in culture and in fit that I've learned that's just been a game changer is once you've got all your culture, once you've got all that stuff, you're looking for alignment, right? You're looking for people that align with those values. You at least have a 7 or 8 out of 10 alignment, and as opposed to agreement. Like if people just go, yeah, I'll agree to get the paycheck. But if you get people that are in alignment and they're on fire for that mission, they might not be perfect. They might drop the ball a lot. They might do all these things. But at the end of the day, if we're in alignment, like it's just going to make all of that so much better.
Oh, that's so cool. And it changes the model as well. So from an external point of view, you can change it from a sales to a selection model. And then from a people that are coming into your company, it changes from a recruiting to a selection model. And so it's easier to get to the people you want. I think about Tim Collins' Good to Great. I'm sure you've read that, Tim. He talks about getting the right people on the bus. I think that's what you're saying here. It's like, look, we're going to go on the journey together. We want to get to a specific outcome. There's going to be bumps along the way. You know what? And sometimes we're going to have to get out and push. Do you want to get on? As long as you get a yes, you're good. Like it's just, do you want to be on the journey together? That's it. This is the sort of, I love that example. JP sounds like a superstar, whoever he or she might be, but that's the sort of stuff that you want to capture for you, and you'll be sharing that with like people in your family, people in 20 years time. That was just a great example of like that in action, right? So it's really perfect.
Oh yeah, totally agree. I mean, dude, like I've been like, I've had this kind of like recent theme in my head where I'm just like, business is messy, people are messy, the shit happens. I mean, 2020 was so like hard for a lot of people, and it's not over. It's still messy. I hired a salesperson. She was doing really well, and now she has to go into surgery, so she's going to leave for 2 months. Another one of my appointment setters has got to deal with this legal thing, so she's going to be out for a month. It's like all these crazy things are happening all at the same time, and that's just like the world. There's like, we want to think there's some perfectly easy way, but if you look at, do you guys know who Ray Dalio is?
Sure.
Yeah, so I love his book Principles. He also it's a really, really long book, super long book.
Very long book.
but it's really good, and he has some really cool like YouTube animation videos that give a really good brief description of it. But he talks about like, hey, every time like as you're growing up, as you're growing and doing whatever, you're gonna run into these failures, and where you drop down, but you have to learn how to like, basically, long story short, like you have to learn how to like learn from that failure and realize and come out of that failure better on the other side. And really that's just how it is whether it's relationships that we're dealing with or the employees or the customers. It's like every time I get a pissed off client, I'd love to tell you that all of my clients are totally happy all the time. But the reality is, dude, it's messy. I'm trying to solve the biggest problem that all businesses have faced in all of human history. That is, how do I get more customers than I need so I can grow and reach my goals? It's like literally the hardest problem to solve in the world, because we're getting entrepreneurs that most of them freaking suck at selling, and we're going, here's these leads, let us help you close them, let us help you do this. So it's very complicated, right? But at the end of the day, when a client comes and complains to me, I'm going like, okay, shit, even if their complaint is like ridiculous and stupid, I'm going, okay, what's the lesson to learn here? How can I set up during the onboarding? How can I set this standard? Or, hey, as we're working together, like, what is every area? And, I don't know what you guys charge for your coaching, but I'm sure it's not cheap. And I don't think it should be. A great coach should charge a lot of money, because there's a lot of value there. But guess what, guys? You know who's a free coach? Is that client that's complaining, that client that's saying like, hey, you said this and you get this. They're finding a flaw in your system. And so, great, perfect. I'm so sorry we did that. Let's fix the system. Don't go yell at the employees. Let's go fix the problem. Was that an accountability? Is it a communication? What's happening there? And so as painful as it can be, over time, Ray Dalio talks about, you will start to like and enjoy the failures, because you realize the process. If you handle that problem right, on the other side, you're going to come out stronger, you're going to come out better equipped, and you're going to have a better product to deliver to future customers. So I definitely highly suggest that book. If you don't like to read long books, whoever's listening or watching, just go to YouTube and watch it. He has a cool little animated series that I feel like explains it and describes it just as well as the book does.
I love that mindset so much, not only in business principles, right, or business practices, but also in life. Like anything that we come up against that is just painful or is just inconvenient, there's something on the other side for us to learn and take away from it. And it's nothing more than the mindset of attacking and being resilient with whatever happens, whatever comes up. Now, it's much easier said than done, but it's also a muscle that you can develop and get better using. And
it's a lot easier said than done.
it is. But once you understand the concepts and that you're in it, and you feel that coming of age or that rising to the occasion, you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again. And it becomes this muscle that, oh, this is where I am again. I can come out of this. I can come out the other side. So
and you get confidence.
Right.
The more punches you get punched in the face, and you go, you know what, hey, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so bad. After a while, like, dude, seriously, we've been dealing with just so much one thing after another that I'm like, me and my business partner, we like literally just like, we were just like laughing, like, dude, we've gone through so much stuff that, like, bring it on. Like, what's the worst that could happen? We've been down this road before. So there's a confidence you get, right? Failure, overcoming, getting knocked down and getting back up, getting knocked down, getting back up, getting knocked down, getting back up. After a while, you start to have confidence in your own ability to get back up. And Ray Dalio says that you actually start to enjoy failures and setbacks. And I think I'm just now starting to taste that enjoyment part. It's not quite there yet, but I think I'm hoping within the next year of lying to myself that it's fun, that I'll eventually believe my own delusion about it. That's the goal.
Love it. I love it. So Tim, start to bring us home here. We got a couple minutes left. There's so much here. I took so many notes, some great principles here, but if you could try to sum up the last half hour here of, I don't know, maybe your biggest takeaway, your biggest lesson, and, or, somebody else who's out there that's thinking of starting their own thing or in the midst of some of this stuff. What's something that you would advise them? You can take that in any direction that you want there.
I'll just say a few things. Number one is you have to live. You can't live in a scarcity mindset. You can't live in a poverty mindset. If you're going out and you're trying to sell a product that's $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, you have to be willing to invest that kind of thing in yourself. I personally pay for mentors. I personally pay for coaches. I very much believe in them. I'm talking to a guy right now who's going to be a $15,000 mentor, and I'm not getting many sessions with him, but the value you're going to get out of that, number one, is you're not going to be able to sell high ticket prices unless you're willing to invest in them yourselves. Number one. Number two is proximity, and this still has to do with money. Is like I will go to a conference and I'll pay $2,000, $4,000 to be in that front row, not because I want to be close to the speaker, but guess what? If I'm in that front row and I paid $4,000 to have that front row ticket, guess who's next to me? Well, you're a $50 ticket back there. You're sitting next to Bob, the insurance guy, which, you know, hey, you got to start somewhere. I spent this money, so the guy next to me, he owns 10 car dealerships. The other guy next to me, he owns a chain of a franchise of hotels or whatever. So proximity. So number one, being willing to invest in stupid amount of money in things that don't seem to make sense, like coaches and stuff like that. I could just spend that money on marketing. Like, no, man, it's worth it. Number two is being willing to invest in proximity. And number three is I hear the vast majority of entrepreneurs say, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. And I will straight up tell you, if you have a negative mindset against sales, you will fail as an entrepreneur. Like if you're listening to this and you say, I don't like to be salesy, I hate sales, you are going to fail as an entrepreneur, because guess what? To be able to get customers, you have to be able to sell. You think a negative mindset against sales is going to serve you well in selling? Fuck no, it's not. Excuse my language. It's not. It's just not going to do that. Number two, you want to go and raise some capital? Great. Like, you're going to have to sell those investors. Those investors hear so many pitches. You have to be great at sales. You want to get top talent? Look, if you want to just give somebody a shitty employee a job, you can put out a job listing and hire whoever. But if you want to get top talent, you have to be able to sell the vision. You have to be able to sell it. So the number three thing is sales. You have to have marketing and sales as part of the DNA of your company. And that starts with you as the entrepreneur. You can't just eventually you're going to have a sales team and you're going to have a marketing team. But if you don't have marketing and sales as the core DNA of your business, you will fail, because number one, you have to do it at first to get it going. And number two, you're never going to be able to manage what you don't understand. And so those are the just three kind of walkways that I would have from today.
That's huge. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Coach, what do you think?
You smashed it, Tim. Awesome stuff, man. Thank you very much. That was really, really cool. I love your energy to pull those things together. Sales, that part is just so important. Like, if you don't want to be salesy, don't be salesy. It's not the same as sales, right? Like, you've got to understand that it's the oldest thing in the world. It's just influence. If you don't do it, everything falls apart. Like, lean into it. Thank you so much. Cool stuff. Really, really nice.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Absolutely. And my takeaway is the culture stuff. I love what you said about what you've learned. If you don't build it, or if you're not intentional about it, it still builds itself, but it might not build into something that you wanted. So as soon as you build that structure and that framework, I think people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And as soon as they hear some truth and what you're building, they want to be a part of it. Then, like, look what just happened with your salesperson. Like, they're basically coaching you on how to improve the business. There's nothing better than that. So
yeah, 100%, man.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate your time today. Any final words from anybody before we cut out here?
I would say one final thing: slow and steady does not win the race, because fast and messy will show you all of the imperfections you have in your product. So get your product to market as fast as you can, grow as fast as you can. Yes, you're going to have a ton of birth pains, but your customer is going to tell you what they don't like about your product. And there's no way to do that without getting a significant amount of clients. So I don't regret getting 240 clients and totally fucking things up along the way, because if it wasn't for that, like, I would not be where I'm at right now today, with a great culture and the ability to grow fast. So slow and steady does not win the race. And in the time we're living, if you think slow and steady will win the race, you are going to fail, period.
Second week in a row for that too, Coach. Speed compounds, and so does procrastination. You get more of each one the more that you do. Just keep going. Start somewhere and keep going. You'll get information along the way. Love it. Well, Tim,
I like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Really riveting conversation. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. So thank you for joining us.